I'll call this meeting to order. Is there any public input? Okay. Next thing on the agenda is the approval of minutes of October 3rd. Do you hear a motion?
So moved.
Do you hear a second?
Second.
Any errors, omissions, corrections? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is Stephanie Potter.
So Joanne asked me to share a project that I've been working on with my 8th graders. We worked with the Chamber of Commerce with the task to create videos advertising Littleton from the perspective of a teenager. And I'm pretty impressed with the videos. I think there's some different directions, and I think I would have waited to get to know the kids a little bit better before doing it again next year. But they had some amazing conversations, specifically with the post office. They came to me excited about how many thousands of stamps are contained in the post office safe, and we went on a couple of walks together. They went into the local businesses. They wrote business letters to the local businesses asking for them to allow them to come in and talk to them and film in their businesses. So it worked really well. The one struggle was the Chamber of Commerce wanted their videos to be a minute or less, which is fine, except when my purpose to kind of have them send a message. Sending a message in less than a minute was where their biggest weakness was. So I was going to show you an example or two of the videos they came up with. I like this one because of the perspective. This one's called Walking on Main Street. Part of the project we worked on with Mr. Fillion was this idea of plagiarism and how we so often will steal music for projects. And we talked about copyright law, how they have to avoid using music that is copyright protected. And we had some pretty riveting discussions about that. I'll show you one more, or at least the beginning of one more, and then. Yes, we went to the Historical Society, the Post Office, some kids went to Lahoots. We did the whole walk. There's one video that the video's okay, but the amazing part was that the kid recorded his own music on the keyboard, and he's an 8th grader who has some amazing musical talent.
That's him playing?
This one isn't. I'll play a clip of the other one, but. So we had a lot of fun. Some of the kids brought in drones from home too, which was an adventure on its own. But this one wasn't filled with the drones. I'll just play the clip of the kid who played his music. So their video could use some work, but the music. It's really cool to hear him playing it. So this is him.
Who's him?
His name's Cody Bear. He's a new 8th grader to our school.
Nice.
And this is a cover, but... So we had a crowd of tourists and locals gathering while he was playing. He has one typo later in it, but... Where's the typo? they were kind of instructed to focus on either what pulls families to visit here, to live here, or also tourists who enjoy adventure. Adventure being a key thing that Littleton has to offer. So we had a lot of fun. We made some connections with Pollyanna, the people who own the copyright to Pollyanna. Had some conversations with them as well. It was fun. And the other thing is if anyone's interested, the book The Outsiders, or the movie The Outsiders, if you've seen that, we're going to be putting Johnny Cade on trial for murder on Friday with the Research and Associates. So if anybody would like to attend, there's one trial at 10 and another one at 11. Should be. It's always fun.
I'm signed up.
Yes.
Did you say that's right?
Say that again? That's Friday, yeah, from 10 to 11 and 11 to noon, the other one. Those are my 8th graders, and they're working on opening statement, closing statements. The big thing is counter arguments that will hopefully then be able to apply those to
Is
their
that to do with the
research.
drowning or a gunshot?
Bob is stabbed by Johnny
Stabbed,
Cade.
yeah.
And there's the argument of is it self-defense, because technically, we deal with perspective. The main character, Pony Boy, who's the narrator,
So
his head was in a water fountain. So he doesn't know what was happening. So we have all the other witnesses who have to come up and plead their case. It's fun. They dress up.
Tulsa, Oklahoma.
Yeah.
It sounds exciting. Have you done that lesson before?
I have done it
Yeah,
before.
sounds like it'll be good.
Last year, we had a kid who got up there and he crumpled up he was one of the lead lawyers, and he crumples up his paper and he throws it on the ground and he's like, I'm going to talk from my heart. And he's like, wait, those are all my notes.
Oops.
Well, those videos were great.
That's
Thanks so
right.
much for
I'm
sharing
going to
them.
sneak out, but have fun.
Yeah.
Thanks, Stephanie.
Thank you, Steph. Thank you.
Okay, new manifests are going around, treasurer's report, Tom.
Mr. Osage did review the treasurer's report, which is on the Google Drive. Not an awful lot of activity during September. I will remind you that the treasurer's report is representative of cash basis. The receipts are what we got in during the month, not necessarily what we earned. So the $62,000 worth of tuition actually relates to last year. So tuition from the CTC through June. So it's not new year revenues, it's actually old year revenues. The second page of that is the year-to-date. And again, not an awful lot of activity yet to this point, but we did end the month with combined bank balances of $881,587. Reasonable shape for that. Did take a quick stab at some financials. Ran out the 43-pager for those of you who are interested in that level of detail. And started to put together the year-to-year comparisons that we had previously. The first page was just a comparison to budget. Goes this way. This is still fairly early in the year. There's an awful lot of things that haven't been identified and encumbered yet, but it shows that we have just under $1.5 million not yet committed, which is why we do the flip side of the page, which is the year-to-year comparison, to show us this year, September, versus the same point last year. And even at that, we're about $600,000 less than what we had spent through September last year. Some of it is timing, because some of the transactions haven't taken place yet where they did last year. But other things are real changes. Most notable is down at the 2200 section with coaches. You'll notice that's a fairly sizable number. That position is vacant. So that's monies that we we did spend last year that we're not planning to spend in that line this year. Another notable difference is in the administrative salaries and benefits, $128,000 more this year than last year, is primarily because of a new administrative assistant position, a couple of other changes that were in the budget for this year, but did not occur last year, so a year-to-year difference. Probably going to make one other change there with the CTC administrative assistant has been charged to the high school, but the CTC director is charged to the tech center. So I think we're going to move her over and put everybody in the one building, which will also reduce some of the variances that we're seeing at the high school. So that's a yet to come. So this will be a work in progress. We'll start to get it more current and keep it up to date. If there's information that you're seeking that you're not finding in these reports, please let me know and we'll see what we can do to accommodate you.
Any questions from the board?
Thanks, Tom.
Okay. Unfinished business, there was none. Under new business, the Littleton School Board Statement of Regulations, which is a form for school board members to sign, was inadvertently missed in late March or early April, so it's now signed in the secretary's hands. Chromebook agreement, I think, Dale, want to talk about that now?
However you would like to proceed.
Yep, it's fine.
Okay, so I presented to the board last month an agreement that the tech committee had worked on. I have presented the final copy that we would like to ask for your approval on. We made some changes, worked with the policy committee, but mainly the changes that we adjusted was if a student wanted to bring a personal device, which was asked the first time I made the presentation, and we would limit that to Chromebooks only, and then also any software that our district purchases for use on Chromebooks, they would not get them installed on their own personal device, so that there's no cost being occurred for us to provide that for somebody at home. And then also we put in a clause that if they do lose their network privileges or their Chromebook privileges, that the staff member would have to provide materials necessary for them to continue with their assignments going forward so that they don't fall behind in their curriculum. And that was added on the last sentence of the first paragraph under rules, reminders, and guidelines. And then the last change that we made was under the parent or guardian section. When the parent signs it, this next to last sentence states that when my child or children has his or her Chromebook at home, that the parent is responsible for monitoring and managing their children's internet activity, kind of secluding us from that responsibility, as well as we've seen that in multiple other school contracts that do this one-to-one. So we feel that we've covered everything, that we're ready to take the next step with the board approval. But I'm definitely open to any questions that we didn't think of.
The policy committee did meet and we talked with Dale and the superintendent, and that's changes we put in, and I think we're in agreement we should pass this. Okay. Any further questions for Dale?
I mean, I just had some questions, just looking for clarification, and whether or not these clarifications need to be in the policy, that's fine with me. But the first part about using their own personal Chromebook, so does that means just Chromebook, so if a student can't bring in a laptop, can't bring in another tablet device, we're talking just Chromebook?
Correct, and the reason for that, which was brought up the first time, was being able to monitor it and also being able to eliminate any virus activity that could come in on a laptop by getting their serial number, on the contractor their device that can go into our management system, and we can monitor it, plus the limit of, or the little amount of viruses that would ever come through a Chromebook are much more limited than a laptop or a tablet.
With regards to damaged students who have caused damage, the last sentence of the expectations, are they given a replacement during that time? I know you have a piece down there about if it's taken away for inappropriate use, but if they have a damage to it, do you have extras to give them to replace it, or would they fall into getting paper copies for the assignments?
We will have extra Chromebooks available.
Okay.
To supplement during that time.
Okay. And then with regards to equipment will be required to, where it says the equipment will be required to, damage to the equipment will be required to reimburse the Littleton School District for the repair. Who's determining what the repair needs are and whether or not it's accidental or intentional? And then how is the student going to be charged for that, or the family going to be charged for that? What are what are we doing if they can't afford it? And if they do not pay it, what's the penalty if they don't pay it? Are grades withheld?
I think that goes above and beyond the agreement of how that's handled. I think, but between Matt and or I, we would be able to determine what's wrong, if it was accidental or intentional, and then what the proper replacement value or cost would be. How we get that, I think I stated that the first time. That's a whole nother barrier that we end up crossing at that time, dependent upon whether or not it's feasible for them to pay. But I thought if we didn't put anything in there, then there was no way for us to be able to.
I didn't know if we had something else in the district that we do something similar with as far as...
We would follow a process similar to loss of textbooks, other district issued equipment, but yes, clearly we need to follow up on that if there were problems related to that.
Okay. With regards to proper care of the equipment, it talks about secured in a locked location at all times. And Daley, I don't know if you know this answer, but maybe the principals of each of the schools know. Are all the lockers equipped with locks, or do students have to provide their own? And do all the locks function?
At the elementary school, we've kind of circumvented that problem by having all, and I think this is going to continue to be the plan, keeping all of the Chromebooks, not letting them go home, keeping them in a locked kind of a cart. Okay. So at the end of the day, all the students will be required to return them to their home location to charge, so they can have them ready for the morning. Unless there's a case that they need to have at home or something like that. But and then of course there'll be other paperwork, if that's the case. But they should be on teacher locking.
Some will be in carts, and the other lockers, well, the locks, most work.
Okay.
We have to talk a little bit more about that piece.
Okay. With regards to the student athletes, leaving them in a designated cart, I know we talked about this at the last meeting. Is the coach going to be responsible for that retrieval portion so that there's no worry of somebody either taking somebody else's Chromebook or, damaging Chromebooks during that return time back to the school?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's something that we could ask our coaches to do, but I believe we would still need most likely a custodial member to let us in, because our plan is to store them in the library, which most coaches wouldn't have a key to get access to.
Okay. And then, that's it. That's all I have for questions. So, I only had one last question on the parent guardian section at the end. It talks about the parent states, "I will not hold the school district responsible for materials acquired through the internet/network." Is the only thing I thought of in there is, do we need to clarify that when they're using the internet network here at the school, there's filters, there's tools set up to protect it from viruses, from inappropriate material. So I don't know if that needs to specify either a home network or a non-school network.
That is covered in our acceptable use guidelines that they sign.
Okay,
And then also it's covered in one of the other policies that we looked at for the students about how that's maintained or covered for our protection.
other than that was it.
Thank you. Would you like a motion to accept the Chromebook agreement?
Make a motion that we accept the Chromebook agreement as presented.
Do we hear a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay. You're welcome. Next item on the agenda was the superintendent's evaluation. I believe that by December we have to evaluate this superintendent, this preliminary evaluation, and I pulled this off from the School Boards Association's website. So if you'd all please take a look at it, and if we need to discuss it, we can further. Even with Steve too, so I'll have it. Odyssey Wear.
So we have been using Odyssey Wear in our district for many years now, probably 5 or 6 years. We've transitioned from Play-Doh to Odyssey Wear, I don't know the date for sure. But we're in the situation where we need to look at a new contract with Odyssey Wear. Last year we contracted through NCES, and Odyssey Wear is no longer working with NCES, so it's back into the school districts, so it won't be contracting through NCES. So we've got some options. I wanted to review how we're using Odyssey Wear currently and talk about ways we can benefit from using it a little differently in the future. So Odyssey Wear, currently we have 25 concurrent seats, which mean more students can be using them, it's just at the same time, only 25 students can be on. We have used it for credit recovery, students who were unable to successfully pass a class. We put them in a credit recovery mode for that course on Odyssey Wear. Our Learn program, and for those of you that don't know what Learn means, it is our Littleton Enrichment and Resource Network. It's the after-school program that runs from 3 to 7, supporting students who are in an alternative learning path. They use Odyssey Wear as their platform. We've used it for summer school, and most recently this past spring we contracted for Odyssey Wear to use our NWEA, our student assessments, to create specific learning paths for our students that take their assessment data and give them the next progression in their learning to build their skills up to either grade level or at the enrichment level. When Joanne and I met with the Odyssey Wear consultant at the end of the year, we were exceeding our 25 concurrent seats by as many as 5 seats, sometimes more than that. We're finding that our students are using them not just in the Learn Center, so they're using them at home, they're using it multiple times during the day. Our current contract, if we were to stay with the same kind of plan that we have right now with the 25 seats, you're looking at $700 a seat. It's $17,500. We've added the NWEA integration so we can create learning paths for interventions and support at $2,000 for 2 sites, $1,000 a site, middle school, high school, and 2 professional development days for a total of $25,500. We added the professional development is something with the changes that they've made in their programming, something that's pretty essential. We haven't had training in it probably since the first year we implemented it 5 years ago. So I wanted you to understand where we are currently, and if we continue currently with 25 concurrent seats, the cost. And I think you've got the presentation on your computer. Yeah. Joanne and I have worked with them on a proposed contract. As we transition to one-to-one, In order for that to be successful, it's important to have some sort of online resources for our teachers. If we went school-wide, one-to-one, it would be, in school-wide, middle school and high school, the 25 seats were just high school seats. We went school-wide, 7 through 12, we're looking at a cost of $22,500 a year. The NEWA site would be $1,000 per site, but they integrate it so that you get the transition of one school and then professional development. If we look at a new contract, it opens up our ability to offer more to our students. We don't use it for enrichment opportunities. Let me hand to you what courses are offered. We use it predominantly for interventions, remediation, alternative learning for summer school. There's something where 25 kids could be using it. It's double-sided. One side is the career and technical courses, and the other are the core course electives. And if you look at, does anybody else want, I've got extra. Anybody else wants to look at it? Sorry,
No, I'm good.
It allows for enrichment opportunities, and what they've done in the last probably 8 months is they've included a whole career and technical education courses as supplement to the core electives. It's a program that can be used by all of our staff, K to 12, to supplement their instruction. The lessons can be presented. If you're focusing on a specific skill, they've got lessons and exercises you can pull into your classroom for direct use to supplement your direct instruction. Gives you those tools. It's a program that can provide those interventions. For example, the student's struggling with a concept in algebra, and they can pull specific lessons for that student to work on during their advisory time or before or after school, whatever we find for the intervention time. It spans from 3rd grade up. We're looking at just the 7-12 at this point. I believe that a lot of the elementary school teachers can benefit from using some of the younger lessons. It includes videos and PowerPoint presentations. They've got the direct instruction, technology-based direct instructions. They've got exercises, they've got pre-tests, they've got post-tests, they've got a vast array of opportunities for students to master the competencies of the course. It's all of their courses are based on the Common Core standards. So we talked a little bit about the enrichment. If you look at the career and technical, and I was just working with guidance today on this, we have students that are pretty passionate about the health science world. Some of you know that from looking at enrollment rate numbers. But if a student really wanted to expand in an independent learning environment, be it over the summer or as a supplement, they could, in their own time or in school time, enroll in careers in allied health, forensics using science to solve mysteries, therapeutics, the art of restoring and maintaining wellness. And there's a ton of other opportunities. Under middle school, on the career and technical side, career exploration 1, 2, and 3, keyboarding, and applications. So this platform can be used to support our students in ways that we hadn't thought of as possible when they've got the one-to-one computer access. It serves as curriculum, supporting curriculum, independent studies. It opens up a lot of doors. So I envision, and with the proper training of the right staff members, teachers integrating curriculum and online resources in their instruction. More learning paths being used. It makes our NWEA assessments, it gives them life, because now you're taking the skill sets that the students have demonstrated on the assessment, and you can match them with learning opportunities that you develop with whoever the core teacher might be. I did a learning path for a student this past spring for algebra, and the learning path was interesting. First time using it, I just said, you know what, he's doing it all. So Just looked at all of the areas. And he ended up with lessons in the trigonometry. So it really took them from where his NWEA score was and all the math elements and built a class for him that brought him to the next progression in the math skill sets. So the cost is not that much more, $22,500 for all of our students to have access concurrently. You could sit down with a class of 20 and actually do a lesson. Right now we can't, because there's always students in the Distance Learning Center or at home from the Learn program working on their coursework. So the next slide, you guys can probably look ahead, talks to us about the challenges of this new contract. Is that it's a 3-year contract, and half of it's paid the first year, and then the rate goes down for the later years, for the second and third year. So we'd be looking at year 1, $41,750. Half of it, it's not a 30-year contract, I'm going to recognize that typo. It's a 3-year contract. So half of the 3-year contract, but it would probably be great if it was a 30-year. The second year we pay $18,875, and the third year the same amount. So front loading it with $41,750. Currently in our budget, I believe we have $20,000 budgeted, so it's $21,750 above and beyond. So what I'm hoping for is that we can buy into this contract, and we've talked a little bit about where you can come up with that $21,750. But right now, we're not under contract with Odysseyware, and so much of our programming, our Learn programs dependent upon it, our interventions in the credit recovery area are dependent upon it, and this is really a good deal for our school when we look at the number of students and teachers who can access the learning that they have to provide. I probably babbled long enough. Does anybody have any questions or concerns?
Jen, are we being billed monthly now?
No, I believe that last year we were contracted with NCES. We got the bill, we paid the bill. This is upfront, half upfront, not monthly, no. And then it'd be an annual bill.
Are students right now using Odysseyware in the Learn program?
They are.
But we're not under contract right now.
Right, so they.
So how is that, what is our current status with that?
Our current status is they're waiting on us.
Okay.
They are waiting on us, and
I
I've been pretty
understand that.
persistent for
Sounds like it, we're in October.
But I talk to them every week, or they contact me every week. I need us to do something with this, and my recommendation is that we enter that 3-year contract with school-wide one-to-one, our student access. I think it's the only way that you're going to find one-to-one a success. Our teachers can create their own courses using the Odysseyware material as a supplement to their instruction. They can combine Odysseyware courses, and I've done this before. I've taken the Vietnam era from the history course, added it to some of the English components that I wanted the students to have, and embedded at the end a career, units on career exploration, resume writing, research. So I was able to create that. That's something our teachers can do.
So teachers all set in using this? Some are using it now, obviously.
We are not using it within our core classes because we cannot put our students on because the seats are being used elsewhere. So the only time our teachers are using it is if one of their students is put into credit recovery beyond their class and they're monitoring their work.
So if this goes, we'll have room enough for all the seats for what we
Yep.
need for 7
All of
to
our
12.
Yep, 7 to 12.
And the teachers 7 through 12.
Teachers K through 12.
K through 12 are comfortable using this.
So our training was 4 or 5 years ago.
Okay.
And what's going to be essential is using their professional development days. A consultant will come and work with our teachers on creating those pathways. We will not be successful if we don't provide the professional development, and that's for just the first year. We're not doing it 2 days every year. I envision that we'll train a core of teachers. I'm thinking 1 per vertical team perhaps, and then they'll be able to support their peers in developing lessons.
So I have a question about the list of classes
Yes.
on both sides.
Yeah.
Just so I can try to understand it. So if I were to take, let's just say Vietnam era that you mentioned, because you're a little familiar with that maybe too. Is that a 1-credit course? How does this
The
work?
way, yes.
Okay, so if I say I want to do an independent study or something like
Yep.
that, is the rigor of that class 1
Yes.
credit? Okay, and it has,
And there's projects that they have to
okay,
present, so it's not just, they're online, they do it, they're done. There's a project element too that may go to an English teacher, it may go to a social studies teacher to check on the accuracy. They would, whenever we enroll a student in Odyssey Ware, they're always matched up with a teacher from that discipline
in the high school?
in the high school.
Okay.
Yep. And I'm gonna and I was gonna, maybe a crapshoot. There's between 6 and 8 extensive units of study per course. It really depends on the course. I'm not sure which ones might be half-credit courses, depending on the number of units of study. I have not pulled all of them up.
And that's okay, but some of these might then be half credit, some might be a full credit. It's just sort of, but you have access to that information and
Right,
figure it out.
And if you look at the advanced placement, they've got AP courses.
So these are all AP classes, huh?
Advanced placement calculus, comparative government and economics, English language composition, human geography, macroeconomics, U.S. government and politics, and U.S. history. They're meant to supplement too. They're not meant to replace the AP courses, but it's a start. Our students perhaps, depending on their motivation, could participate in an AP class in addition to what other coursework comparable, and take the AP exam.
So is it one click up from Khan, so to speak? You know, like you said, you could take a pre-test.
It's a whole course. So where Khan Academy is more lessons,
Yeah.
this is the whole coursework.
But it gives you that kind of, like, lesson online, so to speak. When you
Yes.
said, okay. All right.
Yeah.
Oh, looks-
It gives you that kind of lesson, but beyond, because you still have the projects.
Yeah. Not just a tutorial.
It's not just a
Right.
tutorial. There's assessment pieces with it that include essays and short answers, in addition to some of the multiple choice you'd see typically.
The other, advanced placement too, the problem that we run into, I mean, we have a lot of people asking us, why not offer more advanced placement courses? And the problem is trying to fit them into the schedule. But if you have this component, you could actually put them into an advanced placement. They have the foundational part of the coursework, and then the advanced placement kids would then go on to do the things there that they need to do, because it's very difficult to do advanced placement. And you can do honors and differentiate, but to do the advanced placement with the regular test is impossible. So it kind of really hampers us without broadening the perspective of what we offer for classes. You know, and it's not for everybody. I mean, you know, well, it is and it isn't, but I mean, the AP isn't. And yet we have to, we should offer more than we are, and we know that.
This is the Vietnam era course, and you'll see that there are 6 units of study: the origins of U.S. involvement in Vietnam, the military advisors, a nation divided, etc. When you look at each, you'll see that there's lessons And followed by a quiz, lessons quiz, and there's essays, and there's a final assessment on that unit of study, and then it goes on from there. And then there's a project, the Eisenhower, Kennedy, and Johnson administration. So it's things that you would not necessarily, we would not have necessarily we don't have Vietnam course. So for those students who are passionate about it, we can have this as an elective or enrichment that they could, in their own time, do instead of having to be scheduled for it. Somebody who's passionate about that would be all over taking a course of that interest.
Are some kids taking classes like this right now and learn? Like they might take
And
like
learn-
art history or something?
Not as an elective, perhaps.
Right, yeah, I think so,
as an
because I know
elective.
some kids who are enrolled in some of these classes and they're doing it already.
Yes.
But you're saying it's maxing out the system.
It is.
Yeah.
So when they showed us our data at the end of last year, there were several days where we were exceeding 30 students. And typically what would happen is we would get bumped off. The kids would be in the middle of something and be bumped off because somebody who's on a higher priority gets the seat. And Odyssey Ware was very good about, it's not an automatic, I don't think, it's a red flag for them, and in some cases, depending on our status, that I know it happened. The partnership with Odyssey Ware has been very positive, very supportive. When they came, they were very excited to see our Career and Technical Center. We gave them a tour, especially since they've started to include the Career and Technical Education courses. I think that we have, as far as online learning goes, I think that we have spent a lot of time providing the intervention in, I can't do it in the classroom, shove them there. And I think what we're missing is the fact that a lot of our high-end students who need enrichment need this training too to be successful even at college. And this is potentially a great way for our kids to sign up for electives and expand upon the areas of interest that they have that we're not able to provide for them.
Jen, is access to the Odyssey Ware available to those kids through the Chromebooks that we're talking about earlier?
It's
So
all online.
all right there through. Okay.
They use Chromebooks currently, and in the last 6 months, Odyssey Ware's improved the access on Chromebooks, so everybody's
Great.
updating. So Chromebooks is actually the device many schools use for Odyssey Ware currently.
Great.
So what I would like is you to say, let's do the contract. Tom will find the money, I think we talked about. We always say that. But we talked a little bit about, this is an instructional support, and if we think of monies that we use for instructional support, I see it great for our students, but I see it really is that, where is it? This PD allows us to have an expectation that our teachers are integrating lessons when we transition to one-to-one. And if they don't want to make something up on their own, here's your bank of curricula that you can draw from. And I think that's what's going to make it successful. Otherwise, we'll have one-to-one Chromebooks and teachers who are not necessarily already naturally embedding the lessons. It allows us to flip the classroom. You know, we're going to do a lesson on the politics of the Vietnam War. Here's the lessons you need to do at home. When you come to class, we're going to be doing whatever the teacher's design lesson is. But it allows them to get that background. It functions as an online textbook resource. We're not going to go out and buy Vietnam literature books, Vietnam era books. We just bought the entire curriculum. And any one of our students can take that course. So, thank you.
Great job.
You're a saleswoman, but I'm so passionate about this product.
Tom, any idea of where the other 21 will come from?
You got a tree up there.
You guys have a tree growing out back.
Sure, I think so. Yes, we have a couple of areas. As stated, it is an instructional support. It's helping teachers so happens we have a vacancy in instructional support at the high school level right now. And my understanding is there is no intention of trying to fill that position this school year. So certainly the salary and benefits and taxes related to that position would more than cover this amount. I have worked with Odyssey where on the contract, a multiple-year contract always gets us a little nervous, and we did negotiate some language changes so that we have a non-appropriation clause in there, and we can execute that within the confines of the statutes.
I think if we can find the money, we need to do it.
Are we in a position to give that decision, or, I mean, what are you looking for, Jen? An answer tonight, or?
Yes. I
Funny, I was thinking that. Yeah,
I have pushed them off in their weekly emails and phone contacts, and I can't do it anymore. I need to say, we're contracting or we're not contracting. We're doing whole school, we're doing just our 25 seats, which still isn't enough, and I think I explained it a little bit in the next page, where if we stuck with the 25 seats, you're still adding 5 more seats, so the kids who need it now, at a minimal intervention use, can use them. It doesn't make any sense. It's as much as going school-wide when we look at that.
What's the time frame on professional development?
They would
When do you
like to
foresee
schedule
that?
their first professional development November 9th.
Is that a teacher workshop day?
It's not. It may be a few release teachers to do some training, and then maybe schedule something during a PD day with them. But they have been very persistent about it. They've given the date. We can shift dates, but they're excited to work with us because of how we envision the approach being school-wide as a supplement to our direct instruction.
So in order for them to get that workshop session or whatever, is off premises, and the teachers would have to go for the training elsewhere?
No, here, they're coming to us both
They come
times.
here for
They
the
come-
training, and we just
it's-
have to remove those teachers from the classroom and get coverage for that.
Or do small sessions. I mean, I'll craft it with them, perhaps something during planning time, but I'd like to get the core teachers who use it regularly to master the ability to integrate it into their daily lessons, pull things and design their own courses. So it may pull a few teachers out of class if that's the only day I can get them to come.
Okay.
But I think long-term, it's going to be well worth it.
Okay. Heather?
Any more questions?
Do you see, I don't know what you're using for intervention right now, for kids who need interventions, like say in middle school math, or do you see some of those programs that maybe we're purchasing technology-wise dropping away with this big purchase? Like I know, because I see, when we do the manifest, we see different things that we're purchasing, we're paying $3,000 for this, $2,000 for this, different support programs. So if we have something integrated like this that can be used on the Chromebooks, do you kind of see encouraging staff to use this versus some of the other things that maybe a couple people are using for intervention, or how does that work?
I'm thinking Brain Pop is one of the things that I know some teachers use as supplement to their instruction.
I don't think we can buy everything,
No,
I guess
you
would
can't
be
buy
my
everything.
response,
And I don't know, what we use in formal intervention currently is a person. So the formal intervention at the middle school, high school is working with an individual teacher, a teacher resource. And they're designing things specific to what they perceive the need is. Perhaps it's based on their NEWA score, their NWEA scores, perhaps not. Perhaps it's the intervention is you just don't do your homework. And it's a behavior intervention as opposed to an academic intervention. And I see, as we look at this Odysseyware and using the NWEA integration to create learning paths, the academic, the competency-based interventions. Because I fear the majority of our interventions are to compensate for behaviors.
So Jen, as Leslie was saying, could we incorporate everything that's supplemental as far as software programs and enrichments into this?
I think what we need to do is to take a look at what those are and how they're being used and by whom, and then target how it's comparable to the Odyssey, where I can't say yes, I can't say no, because I want to know what the tools are, who's using them and why.
My only knowledge of it is what I see in the manifest, K to 12, of different services being purchased, and you probably know more, Dale. But there are quite a number of things. And so I guess I'm totally open to this, don't get me wrong, but I just, in fairness to the taxpayers, you know, if we're gonna pick something, then let's go with it, you know? So not, I don't know.
This is 712, so the intervention technologies that they use, they can use Odysseyware, and we haven't talked about professional development for our elementary school teachers in the use. I'm happy to work with them on that, because I think they'll see how rich the resources are. But the NWEA integration is 712. It's not K12 or 312. So we just have to be careful when we look at those interventions, those
Well, I think the elementary school has a pretty solid intervention program, you know, because they split the kids up and it's just handled a little differently, you know?
But maybe we could, I mean, Dale, we can ask Dale to do an assessment of those technologies and see.
So I've actually already started. I've partnered with Amy at the elementary school to get a list of software apps that teachers use and why they use them, and then also how many users. Because if
That's great.
2 teachers are using one program in kindergarten and then the other 2 are using a different, we need to streamline it to make it one. And if this is a solution, you know, at that level we can look. But I started at the elementary because they use more software apps than the high school uses per se for their instruction. But we already have talked about streamlining that so that financially we can be more responsible.
Well then,
I don't know.
we all think we should do this?
Yeah, I think we need to do that. But I think what Dale has started, I think we need to really follow up on to make sure that we are streamlining. You know, and then we can report back that we do have savings along with this expenditure. But I think
Right.
what this is offering is invaluable right now.
So I think that if you want to make a motion, we accept this Odyssey waiver. We're looking for 21,750, that's what I'm seeing? Or to make up the other 20,000 for 41. So if somebody wants to make a motion.
I'll make the motion that we accept the Odysseyware based on the presentation that Jennifer gave, with the idea that we can, with the approval of the 21,750 that we're going to find already exists in the budget. That's it. 3-year contract?
3-year contract?
3-year contract.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Good job, Jen.
Thanks, Deb.
Thanks, Jen. Okay, I think we then have the director's reports. Do we have one for Kelly, or is that going to be?
Kelly will
He'll give us another one next
be
month.
setting this one next meeting.
Alan Smith's report.
Al is at a director's meeting. I am going to incorporate a few things related to CTC in my report on his behalf.
Okay, so how about a tech report from there?
Wow.
Wow.
From here good, or? We don't have.
No
All right.
seat.
I'll be quick.
Don't hurry.
So, just a couple updates. Tech Tuesdays working really well at the elementary school level. Amy has anywhere from 4 to 8 participants on a weekly basis, some that are common every week, which is nice. And she's sending it out every Tuesday as a reminder, but also she's kind of changed the curriculum that she's teaching to relate specifically to the applications that they use down there as well. High school not as successful, high school, middle school. We've only had one person come to one session and one to another, so there's been 3 sessions without any attendance of staff from the high school, middle school. So Jeremy, he's already done this, but he'd already sent out a Google form to the staff asking them for suggestions as to what they want to learn. Partnering with Joanne and Jen, we agree that we need to keep it classroom-based and how the staff member can utilize whatever they're doing to incorporate it into their classroom time, whether it be instructional or whichever. The second thing is that Jeremy thinks that adding or offering it to some students who want some help with Google Apps, especially going to the one-to-one, would be a nice benefit. And both have extended invitations to any of you with your Chromebooks to attend theirs at any time.
I'll move it in.
Amy's is Tuesday, 2:45 to 3:15 in the library at Lakeway, and Jeremy's is 3 to 3:30 in his classroom, which I believe is 4406. We'll go with that in Daisy Bronson.
That's very nice of them.
Yeah, it is.
We tested CopSync, so quick information on CopSync. It's basically our emergency or threat alert system. It's real time. It can be activated by simply opening the icon. So we did a test both at the high school, middle school, and academy, and then also at Lakeway on the professional development day. Put the times in there for you. It was a success. There were definitely some opportunities with a few staff members that have since been resolved, with the exception of anybody that has a Macintosh computer. The CopSync app does not automatically activate if I send it from a Windows or anybody sends it. It doesn't pop up on their screen. So I have contacted CopSync. I was on the phone with them today. They're actually releasing a Macintosh app sometime between October 20th and November 1st. So that would alleviate that. So that the two staff members at the high school that have a Mac have it currently accessed through their cell phone. So if an alert was to go off, they get an immediate text message that there's an alert and they can open it. But it's instantaneous. It goes out to the three closest police officers, Grafton Dispatch, New Hampshire State Troopers, Troop F, as well as Littleton PD, and we confirmed with both tests on that day that they received it. They acknowledged receipt of that, as well as, I guess last year there was an opportunity with admins in different buildings not getting it when Lakeway went into lockdown last year, and that's resolved. So when we did the test at Lakeway, all the front office and Mr. Babin got notification at the high school, as well as everybody here, or the 4 people here at the SAU, and then vice versa when we ran it at the high school. Lakeway, Dana, Crystal, and the front office staff at Lakeway received notification that the high school was in a threat. So we seem to have worked out all the flaws from before. So the one-to-one initiative, thank you again. I think it's going to be really beneficial for our students as we move forward. Originally, when I put this together, we were going to do some sort of presentation tomorrow night at Open House. After talking with Joanne today, we're going to push that back a little bit. We are going to have a parent meeting. This was something that was brought up in the policy meeting, as well as with our tech committee, that once we're ready to roll this out, parents will have a meeting, and this agreement will be presented to them. Questions will be answered. We'll make sure that they understand all the legalities and the responsibilities that they have before agreeing to sign them out a notebook. And all contracts will have serial numbers, and obviously everything will be dated and so forth. So that would all be tracked by me. I would have it tracked electronically, and then we would put the hard copy in their student file to keep on hand. Server virtualization, just letting you know that we did have internet issues last week. We were able to troubleshoot it to one of the switches in one of the main switches in Mr. Anderson's room. It since has been resolved, thankfully. But one of the things, it's not uncommon, it's probably more common now than ever, is virtualizing a server to where less downtime, you can put multiple things on there. So like right now, we have 6 hardware servers that run different things. You could virtualize one of those servers and let them run all of them, kind of like a backup. So our plan, or I should really say Matt's plan with some discussion, is to virtualize one of the servers that we no longer use so that it has a backup. So if the internet was to go down at the high school, we have, because of the server, the hardware server, we would have a virtualized backup so that there's no intermittent loss. And I think I've talked about that before, but we agreed after Thursday and Friday of last week that we need to do something along those lines because it wasn't as enjoyable as it needed to be. And I think the staff, if they were here, would all agree. And then lastly, just some updated data. I've shared this with the building principals as well as the superintendent and Mr. Mangles. Just where we're at with our copier usage with the contract year to date. No need to panic. It's the first month of the year. It's higher than expected, but I would expect, and actually after speaking with Canon, they would expect that the first month and the last month are going to be our 2 highest used months. And when they did their data testing, they did it in April, so probably not. I mean, that was the best time for them to get in and do it, but regardless, I have been monitoring it on a weekly basis since the end of September, and we're definitely more in line with where we were going. However, if it continues, one thing that was presented to the board in June when we approved this was a print management system, which would allow us to manage each user. Like right now, when you see Lakeway, for instance, in that report has 100,000+ copies, that's not tracked to any one user. So, and that was proposed at the time, and we decided against doing it at that time. That is a possibility that we might have to revisit that from a cost perspective, because it would allow us to manage number of copies per user and or track, hey, why'd you do 10,000 copies this month? You know, it would be specific to their information. So that's it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dale, and thank you for getting the one-to-one going and able to roll out. That's really
Yes.
exciting.
So, Diana, I think you're on.
The game too. Crystal, of course, can't be here tonight, so I'll just give you the principal's report for Lakeway. As far as enrollment numbers go, we're at 367, which is 2 down from the beginning of the month. Yeah, maintaining relatively stable, I guess we could say. In technology and curriculum and staff development news, we had 6 teachers attend a 3-day Project Lead the Way training in Lisbon, right down the street. The focus was on instructing STEM. That kind of led to the idea that we definitely need to do more collaboration between our technology integrator and our instructional coach, so we can plan to help prepare our kids for when they get up to the middle school and high school and be more competitive in those STEM courses. As far as overall curriculum work goes, we've begun aligning the social studies curriculum across the board to develop non-negotiables there to match all of our other core areas. This is, again, the last subject area we need to get all of our non-negotiables down. Our October 7th Professional Development Day was great. We worked collaboratively in PLCs to discuss assessment, student data, and updating and finalizing report cards, all based on the recent PD that we've had with Dr. Marzano and the reading of Mr. Gusky's book. On personnel areas, we are still on the hunt for one paraprofessional, and I hear we're getting closer with that. School events, we on Friday had the Mark Peabody Walk, Run and Roll. The money for that is going to benefit adaptive sports. Save for Success, our kind of mini banking program, occurs every Tuesday morning now at Lakeway. And Popcorn Fridays have resumed to much fanfare, so if you're planning a visit, Friday would be one of the better days to do so. In order to maximize efficiency and headaches at the same time, we decided to have Red Ribbon Week and Fire Prevention Week in the same week. That's October 24th through 28th. So lots of activities, again, another time. So maybe the Friday of that week would be either the worst or best time. And one reminder, hey, on October 18th, Friends of Lakeway, that's tomorrow, will receive their 28th consecutive Blue Ribbon Award with our local partners. Should I face the camera when I say this? Receiving the Circle of Excellence Award. So the such partners as the Littleton Police Department, Littleton Bike and Fitness, Star Construction, Hammer Down Construction, LaHoots Clothing and Ski Shop, LaHoots Property Management, Photo Factory, and Harris Energy. So all of those great community businesses being recognized for their excellent contributions to our schools. And that's all I've got.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I just want to say, my hat's off to the people who do the Popcorn Fridays. I've worked that Popcorn Friday, and that is not easy.
It's really easy to get the popcorn thing to smoke.
That's if you can get it out of the closet.
Live in complete fear of that at all times and try to stick to bagging.
Thankfully, we've got some great volunteers. That
Hats off.
Thank you.
Okay, committee reports, personnel. Oh, sorry. What? Oh, yeah.
Joanne.
Okay.
She wasn't going to say a word.
Okay, Joanne, you're
Well,
up.
okay. The enrollment is 342. We picked up a person in the freshman class so far, and you know, it kind of fluctuates. That, at least the year's right this time, so. I just want to say that it is a very exciting time to be an administrator, and I think Jen would agree at the middle and high school level, because I wanted to explain to you what we're doing. Of course, we have our upcoming, we're preparing for NEAS visitation dates, November 4th to 7th on 2018, still a little bit farther away, but Jeremy Brown and Vanessa Sandville and I are traveling to Goffstown High School tomorrow to be there most of the day, to go work on the self-study procedures and what's going on. And then we'll head back here for open house tomorrow night, which is, we'll have a roundtable discussion with whoever wants to show up and have a roundtable discussion with me. In the cafeteria, I provide treats, so it's kind of good to have coffee and some sweets and whatever else. And from 6 to 8, we can visit classrooms and see what's going on. So that's what's going on there. So, but the most exciting thing, I think Jen would agree with this, is happened on October 7th when we did our PD day. Because as we were discussing how to put this together, I don't think it's a secret that a lot of discussion that happens naturally among educators happens at the elementary level, so it's been easier for them. Not so much at the high school level, a little bit more at the middle school level. So we had to figure out how we're going to do this and how we're going to put it together. So what we did was we divided the day up, or we did the nuts and bolts first, but then part of the day I asked for some volunteers to please explain to us, what do you do for assessments, based on Marzano and all the other readings we've had, and people like Stephanie Potter were one of the people who volunteered. They were all young teachers, probably not teaching more than, well, Jeremy probably was the oldest, and that's not old, about what they did. So we had history, we had our first year art teacher, we had Stephanie Potter, and we had Sam Woodson, all presenting at a table. And what we did was they had to do everything in 15 minutes. So they had to present their project, they had to present how they assessed it, and then I was a timekeeper, and people had to get up and move and go to the next person. And it was very interesting that the younger teachers got some suggestions from older teachers, and the older teachers kind of said, you know what, this is maybe not so hard to do. So, and they were glad to have that conversation. Now, what they didn't know was we had been plotting to randomly select them to work with each other, either to present during the showcase time. So Jen and her daughter came up with this idea with the names and then whatever we had them pull out. So it was completely random. They had no idea who they were working with. And when we presented it to the leadership team, they were like, I don't know about this one, how it's gonna work. Well, yeah, you really have to trust us. It's a little risky here. You have to kind of work with somebody you might not work with. And
Kinda like the
so
kids
we're
have to
about
do.
to show you the results of what these people came up with.
So what I just handed to you
Okay.
here, Ms. Shirley, are the partnerships and the projects. They were given much of the afternoon to collaborate together, to assess what competencies they have for their discipline. And as you can see, you've got social studies and math working together, special ed support with math, you've got English and PE, everybody's mixed up with different competencies. And it's in order to keep the concept less drop whatever you're doing, they had conversations about the competencies that they're working on with their students and collaborated on how their competencies can merge and what projects they can work to build together, from lesson design to assessment. And these are the focus areas that they came up with at the Professional Development Day. The energy in the room was just contagious. They were so excited about what they came up with together, ready to work on it, ready to get going.
And the back isn't left blank. Barb Chase is actually going to be working the Schoolhouse Rock group. And Sean Hagan and Garen Melanson and the new student teacher, Caitlin Sargent, all have a really great interest in Russian history, so they are doing something about all of that. So that includes her too, and so we wanted to have something that would include her and that would be beneficial. So everybody has something, and they have different time limits. So around November-ish, they'll start to present to the staff what they've been working on. Here's what our lesson now looks like. Some will choose it for the student showcase. The Schoolhouse Rock actually is, I think that's the one that's producing a video that's going to run through the whole time. So there'll be more of those things going on. And what was really exciting, like Jen said, is to watch them actually pair off and do the thing and come back and tell us what their project was. And they actually liked each other, so that was a good thing. And they found that the people that they worked with, they were actually more similar than they were different as far as how they approach things. So it was really a great move. Now this is the long road for discussion for the middle high school, getting to competency-based assessments and all of that. And this is the road we chose to do because it's what needs to happen. So the fact that they were receptive and you can see their outcomes is exciting to us and to me. So that's what's going on there. We do have a new Red Apple Award recognition winner, and that is, or I shouldn't say winner, but a recognized person. That's going to go to Sam Whitson, and based on what we looked at and talked about with her composting project and the kids going down and talking with middle school kids. And we have 2,400 worms that we're keeping busy with apples and coffee grinds and such, and kids are looking at them and all of that stuff. There has to be a light on, Tom, just so you know, because it can't be dark in the room because they try to get out, they think it's night, so we're going to stimulate the light.
And she was one of the teachers who shared on our Professional Development Day her project.
Yeah.
So, the New Hampshire Arts Alliance called, Frumi, if you know Frumi at all, Frumi doesn't usually give me a lot of time, but so Kato Ross showed up. He is a hip-hop breakdancing person. He is a Cambodian refugee who made it to America and actually made it out of the projects in Providence, and I'm giving the Cliff Note version, but he mesmerized the gym. And between phys ed and Chrissy Noyes' class, that's what he was doing today, and they all were doing a little break dancing, so it was very interesting. So I just wanted to, Steve came over and saw, and it was great. It was great. They got a little history lesson too about what it's like to grow up in gangs and to actually set some goals for yourself and make something of yourself. Let's see, dessert with the principal is actually going to be like my forum, 5 to 6 o'clock, so, that's out there on a parent phone call. We also, I met with a gentleman called Mr. John Guesty, on opiates. He had a daughter who went to Bishop Girton High School, who unfortunately succumbed to an overdose. I watched through the whole presentation, so it's appropriate. I will be sending letters home, of course, but for high school, and then we'll modify it a little bit for middle school. We're going to do that on November 7th. He'll be there all day. After the assemblies, he'll be willing to speak to teachers, and then he'll be with us in the evening. So we'll open up the school again in the evening and have people come by, and he and his wife have been working in the Manchester Concord area and trying to get awareness and make people more well educated on what's out there for help. And I think we need to do a little bit more with this. And as we're approaching holidays, and that's a really tough time for kids and some of our families, I think it's appropriate. So that will happen. Littleton Players, so some of you have received your invitations. The Sissification of Midsummer Night's Dream is November 10th at 12. And then the Honor Society is having an induction ceremony, I think it's October 24th. And that's what I have.
Thank you, Laura.
Okay. Committee reports. Personnel committee doesn't have anything at the moment. Facilities, do you have any reports?
I don't have a report. We did meet, and the only thing I would pass along to the board was significant is there was a request to have the memorandum of understanding with the custodians reviewed. The last time we did that, the last one was approved, I looked it up, June 30th, 2014. So just to send that, I guess, over the personnel committee that was requested.
Okay.
And I can share their concern that they voiced at the meeting. So.
Okay. Policy committee met with Dale earlier, and we'll be meeting again November, I don't know, first Thursday in November, I think it is, to discuss a few other things. I just wanted to know that on the Littleton School Board policies, in that section that's on the site, the definitions of the sections, which you probably have on your Chromebook, or some of you will have, what the sections mean. So there is a student section, which is section J. I just lost my page. Where'd it go? Over here, back there. Section A basically talks about the district's legal role in providing public education. Section B is how the board operates, and there's several policies underneath that area. Section C contains policies on school management, administration, organization, school building and department administration. It continues on. Section D is on school finances and the management of funds. Section E is on regulations and exhibits on non-instructional services and programs regarding business management, safety, building and grounds, and so forth. Section F is on facility planning and financing, construction and renovation. Section G is on policies of school employees, except for the superintendent, that falls underneath Section C. And staff. Section I contains policies on instructional programs, basic curricular subjects, special programs. Section J is on students, a lot on students, and Section K is on school, community, and home relations, and Section L is on policies on interorganizational relations. So I hope that personnel and administration take a look at these sections whenever you think of a policy and where it might land, just so that you all know. That's all I have. Anything on Lakeway site?
Nothing new.
Okay, thank you. Superintendent, you have a report?
Yep, I do. Okay, real quick, both Dana and Joanne referred to this, as did Jennifer, with their reports and discussions, but the staff development day on the 7th was, I thought was terrific. I wasn't able to go to Lakeway on that day. I'll go to some in the future certainly, but what I saw in middle school, high school was, I think as they described it, very, very full of energy, terrific facilitation. The 4 people, the teachers that facilitated those discussions were tremendous. Lots of very good ideas and energy and really positive energy, which I was really pleased with. The afternoon, I spent some time CTC, and they were working on similar types of discussions. A consultant from the SREB from Atlanta, Georgia. And they were talking about the competencies, specifically the workplace competencies, how to determine student level of attainment on the workplace competencies, how to report that out, and then as well as the competencies that are related to specific areas within the CTC. Because there's the general workplace competencies, and you show up on time, you work well with others, so on. And then the specific competencies within each of the areas. So there's a lot of good work happening there too. So it's very much focused on the competency-based instruction assessment, and a day well spent. Last few weeks, a few meetings attended, school law seminar, where we learned, Ann and Leslie and I learned a little bit about some different things that we need to be continue to work on. I think we came away feeling like we've done a lot of things correctly as well. North Country Superintendent's meeting in Berlin, excuse me. It's the German in me coming out. Last week, and that's the second one of those, or that particular organization that I've attended. And again, always good to be with the colleagues to learn more about how different things are happening in their schools. We also heard some reports from the State Department of Education, a little bit from the community college there as well, which hosted us. And I'm proud to say that Pierre Couture and I toured the welding program. His son happens to be in that program. And I made the mistake of bragging about what a good welder I am and how much I've done that in the past. And I have done quite a bit, but when I found out they had a virtual welder, I had to try that. So I was there with I do have a photograph. Virtual welding, which is different than the real welding. I told them I wanted to do the real welding next time. They said, no, not after watching you on the virtual. We can't let you on a welder yet. But that was very nice. Very, very impressive program there. I was followed up the other day, a Region 3 Tech and Career and Tech program, and I'm going to come down in just a moment and say just a little bit more about that. In the very near future, I talked to Patty and Tom about this a little bit today. We'll be talking with Al a bit tomorrow. Set up of the emergency school closure system, testing it. I don't want to wait till there's a blizzard. So I think it's better to do it. I think it's better to set it up and be prepared while it's 70 above than 70 below. So that's what we'll be doing, making sure that system works and is ready to go. Well, I'll talk just briefly about the instructional support program. I think that as we move forward, I've alluded to this before a little bit, but broadening the description of that a little bit beyond just learning coaches, instructional coaches, but looking again at different things that go into supporting instruction. We just approved something that's a major step forward in another way to support teachers in standards-based grading, reporting, extended learning opportunities, recovery learning opportunities, all kinds of use of data based on having activities, student learning activities based on actual data. In this case, MAP. But I would like for at some point our learning competencies to be a part of that as well, and where support practices are put in place for students. Mentoring, again, these are all things that happen that have been done through various means with our instructional coaches, but they're practices that really are programmatic, mentoring, data analysis, and I could go on. Driver's Ed program, we've talked about this for a while. I think we're nearing a point where again, I can give some details in that. First of all, there's nothing to work. The State Department of Education, as you know, is pulled away from that several years ago, discontinued that. I have been in contact with the Department of Safety on how to set that up. If in fact we decide to go forward with the driver's education program, which I hope we do. I think it's something that we need to offer the families of our community, the students of our community. I think that as I look at our schools, we're regional leaders, and this is something that I hope we're able to provide for our students in the very near future. Region 3 Career and Tech Program, and in Al's report there's a little bit of a mention there as well. But I attended that on Friday. That's why I said I want to come back and hit this really briefly. But we have the schools that are involved are White Mountain Regional High School, Profile, Lisbon, Groveton, Linwood, and Littleton. 237 students in total are enrolled. 125 are students from Littleton, 129 are students from Littleton. Then you can see the various programs there: auto technology, building trades, broadcast, teacher education, fire science, health science, finance, computer tech, EMS, machine tool tech, and then those are programs that are happening here in our facilities. And then programs that our students are attending at other locations: animal science, culinary arts, JROTC, and welding. So gives you a little bit of a sense of what's happening with that program, the numbers, which areas have the highest enrollment. And I've been speaking with individuals from these other schools, and this is a really, I think it's a model for the future in terms of cooperation. Bottom line, offering students as many opportunities as we can, and being efficient and smart with resources, and not duplicating programs all the time. I think this is, I came away from that meeting even more impressed, and really glad that we're part of that particular organization. Al does have a written report in the packet here that I call your attention to. It's some of the same things that I just hit. There's a couple of things there. The career tech goals, a few of the things, the industry connections, the staff development program updates, and so on. I think that one thing that is disappointing, I am sorry to report that the apprenticeship program is not going to happen. That's too bad, because that would have been a really nice. We talked about that earlier. We had a person hired to facilitate that contingent on it happened, but there just wasn't enough, wasn't enough interest, so we'll have to keep working at that one. I'm surprised we can't get that to go.
Steve, do you know if there was any interest?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I think
So
Al
nobody-
mentioned it
yeah.
was
Wow.
Wow, that's interesting, yeah.
wetland, so that's too bad. We need to figure out why that is.
Is that it? All right, so I'll entertain a motion to go into non-public.
We'll make a motion to enter into non-public session under paragraph 2, section 3 of the RSA 91A:3 of the right to know law for, number 2, the hiring of any person as a public employee. Number 3, the matters that would adversely affect the reputation of any person other than a member of the board. Taking with us the superintendent
Yes, and Tom.
and Tom Mingles, business manager.
Do I hear a second?
Second?
Roll call vote.
Cook.
Annie?
Nelson?
Robbins.
Wiggett. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you all very much.